Good Monday morning, and welcome to the order of Monday morning. I guess I can do Monday morning. I hope you had a great weekend, and or at least survived it. Uh, it's been incredibly hot the last few days here, and we expect it to be a little warm today. But not only am I preparing for the our visit this morning for the order of Monday morning, but it's Monday Night Magic class too. And for the last two Mondays, we've been discussing, playing around, ruminating upon goetic magic or solomonic magic. And so I've been mentioning it here. And of course, we're not doing Enochian or goetic magic as a group thing. Okay. Yeah, I know there's ways that you could include 10 or 12 people in such a way as to witness a goetic evocation where you've got one receiver, and it's really kind of a really personal thing, and it's not really suited for group workings. At the very most, if you are trusting and in total harmony with someone who's really good at the evocation part, and you're really good at the receiving the vision of the spirit, and can talk with the spirit like within a triangle or a black mirror. I've seen that done pretty damn well. Okay. But that's really the exception and not the rule. And most goetic type operations are something that is almost painfully personal. And so I ran across a speech that I gave at PantheaCon. I guess it was one of the last PantheaCons back in 2000. Well, maybe not the last, 2008. And it sort of encapsulates the whole thing. And remember, this is intended for a more broad listening audience or audience than hardcore ceremonial magicians. I mean, it's magic workers. Okay, PantheaCon was a big gathering of magic workers, witches and different kinds of alternate spiritual practices and things like that. But I was speaking to a general crowd that many of whom had the idea that all of this Goetia Solomonic magic was black magic. Okay, and they didn't want to go near black magic. Well, nobody wants to consciously go near what they would consider nasty stuff. But anyway, here's what I've said, and you've heard me talk about this in a number of different little morning discussions here. And I've titled this discussions, Does a Magician Just Make Shit Up? Or make up shit? And even though there's a million grimoires and there's we're really lucky that the available literature out there right now has never been more available, and a variety of great scholarly researched books that are out there. This is like the golden age of occult and magic books. As a matter of fact, there's so many of them that it's becoming kind of a problem as to separating the wheat from the shaft. But when I said just make shit up, what we're going to talk a little bit tonight about this thing, okay? And you see on the outside it says, at the top it says Tetragrammaton. Well, that's Yod He Vav He. And in the very middle one it says Michael. So that's an archangel. And in the middle it says Anaphaxeton. Ooh, that's a pretty good shot right there. Okay, Anaphaxeton. And this is supposedly the magic ring or disc. That's how it's written. Ring or disc that you hold up against your nose to protect you from the sulfurous, noxious fumes of the demon's breath. Okay. Now, that Anaphaxeton is also, let's see here. Also, see, there's Tetragrammaton right over here. Tetragrammaton. And over here is Anaphaxeton. And down here is another one that says Primumaton. You can almost kind of sound that. They're all Greek-sounding-ish kind of things. Ton, you know. So. And then there's Michael right here. Michael. Okay. That's in the magic triangle. What the fuck is Anaphaxeton? Look it up. It's not really a Greek word, okay? And you can. It's supposed to be this big magic. It seems like some magician just made it up. And in the looking at the big picture, all of the wonderful grimoires, the Lesser Key of Solomon, the 5 books of the Lemegeton, of which it is one of them, actually, it was one magician's collection. It was his collection of things. Ars Goetia, ars. It all goes back to a person or people, and people copy other people's stuff and corrupt them and stuff. But ultimately, goes back to somebody just made shit up. Now, is that bad? Does that negate the power or the effectiveness of the technology? I think not. As a matter of fact, I think it's the magician's job to make shit up. Your whole life, your whole sense of self-identity and ultimately self-realization is shit that you make up. You invent yourself from moment to moment. You're inventing the whole thing. And part of the technology of magic is picking and choosing specific things that you choose to make up at one time or another to advance, to expand your consciousness, to elevate your consciousness, to accelerate your awakening. So yes, magicians just make shit up and be proud of it. Okay. Uh, Now, a lot of people, very, very learned and scholarly and wise magicians, or at least writers about magic, uh, tend to jump to the conclusion that I think, just because I say it's all in your head, jump to the conclusion that that's that my head is different than your head. My quote is, "It's all in your head. You just have no idea how big your head is." And those who would criticize the point of view, uh, uh, such as I put forth, that I think it's all internal and psychological, are missing the big point. They're denying their own big-headedness. Here's what I had to say, and you've heard much of this before, but sit through it again. Oh, speaking of that magic ring, okay, they call it a ring or the disc. Now, I've never used this, but perhaps the ring that they're talking about is a ring you put on your finger, something like that. Okay, and at least you could go, okay, spirit, what's your name? Nah, don't give me that shit. That shit stinks, you know. Okay. Anyway, okay. The medieval magical practice known as solomonic, evocation, or goetia is what most people think of when they hear the words black magic. They think of the evil ceremonies they see in horror movies. Actually, the practice is meant to be dramatic and spooky. So please don't let my attitude detract from the fact that it's supposed to be dramatic. It's supposed to be spooky. It's supposed to trigger, or at least tickle, an element of real fear and terror in you, up to a point. They think of evil ceremonies they see in horror movies. Actually, the magician wearing wild robes and armed with a magic wand or sword stands in a triangle before a circle and compares a spirit monster to obey the magician's commands. But is goetia really like that? Well, yes and no. Actually, demons are our friends, or can be. Calling up demons and getting them to obey your commands is easier than you think. As a matter of fact, all of us are born with 12 six-packs of demons already installed and hardwired in our psychic operating systems. Occasionally, we accidentally catch one and put it to work. Whenever we're forced to discipline ourselves to learn a specific skill, or in times of stress when we're required to draw upon extraordinary wit or courage or talent. Most of the time, however, they just run amok at our expense as we allow them to randomly discharge their raw energy in whichever direction offers the least resistance. Now, when I learned to play the guitar, okay, I had to master on my right hand and on my left hand each 5 stubborn, resistant bullheaded demons, one at a time, to conquer retrain how they're forced to form chords. One at a time. Then I had to master other demons. Okay, demons of that would allow my mind to wander, so I couldn't discipline it enough to memorize songs, to replay them in my. How many freaking demons do you conquer just to learn to play Michael Row the Boat Ashore on a guitar? Okay. And believe me, those are demons. Those are natural forces that otherwise would be running amok, just picking my nose or something, something unguitar-like. Okay. But I digress. These are fragmented units of untamed natural force within ourselves that we've ignored, denied, or disowned. They surface to work their mischief when our will is ambiguous and our resistance is low. After you've committed an embarrassing act of unbelievable stupidity, you are referring to them when you slap your forehead and scream, "I'm my own worst enemy." As long as your demons are ignored and uncontrolled, they are as dangerous as hungry beasts in an abandoned zoo. If you're not in control of your demons are in control of you. So how does a magician go about doing this? First of all, understand this. A real magician doesn't work magic to directly change things in the world. That may be the object of the operation, but that's not what you're doing the magic for. The magician works magic to directly change himself or herself into the kind of person that affects that change, or even the type of person that attracts a change like that to occur. Once you clearly know that, the next most important thing to remember when working with demons or spirits is don't be afraid. Fear is poison in magic and in life. Fear is the terror of the threshold of initiation. And the secret of goetic and solomonic magic lies in the magician's power to overcome fear. Okay, and I point to my own book, Lesser Key of Solomon. Oh, yeah, and I'm trying to sell it here. Okay, yeah. If you're serious about the traditional art of evoking spirits, you'll want to thoroughly study the source material, because that's where the art form is, and the choreography of it is. Now, you wouldn't. Isadora Duncan was angelically possessed, in my opinion. Expressive, personally expressive dancer. Okay, and I believe that every one of her performances was an act of worship. Okay, and she, even though she danced to the same music over and over again in her performances, every performance was different. That was her art. That was her magic, okay? But it wasn't classical, disciplined ballet. But she was familiar enough with the classic elements of ballet to help her understand her own instrument. So if you're really serious about goetic magic, become familiar with the classic form. And that's where all these wonderful, wonderful books that are at our disposal come in. But don't be misled into thinking that it's like a recipe book, that if you read it and your lips are moving, you're actually doing something on a very superstitious kind of level. Please don't let any of my warnings dissuade you from doing anything. You'll learn more from all of your failures than you will from any of your successes. And don't let Lon screw you up, okay? If you feel like doing it, go ahead. Enjoy. Okay. Modern magicians do, however, or don't share quite the same spiritual worldview as the ancient wizards. But like everyone else, we ask ourselves, why isn't my life operating perfectly? The notorious black magician, Babylon, says the universe is operating perfectly. It's you that's fucked up. At least, at the moment, you're not in control of some very important powers of your own nature. And while these powers are out of your control, they behave like evil spirits. But are the evil spirits evil? The simple answer is spirits are evil if you are. To work Solomonic magic, you have to be a Solomon. Solomon is the archetype of the ceremonial magicians. Many people, especially religious people, get upset when historians and archaeologists tell them that the story of King Solomon and a 10th century BC kingdom of ancient Israel never existed in empirical history. All that is Bible history and not real history. But be that as it may, the myth, the allegory, the metaphor of the character of King Solomon teaches us a very real magical truth. And here's Solomon's story in a nutshell. And I give the story of talk about King Solomon, and instead of micromanaging the details of building of Solomon's tomb or Solomon's temple, he said, I can't handle this. I'm going to have to enter in the presence of God and let the divine influence pass through me directly so I don't screw anything up. And that included, God said, whoa, I'm impressed. That's a great question. That's a great request. He says, and I'll give you the key to the labor union that's going to build that temple for you. And that's the currently unredeemed or the blind forces of the universe. I'll give you a demon labor union, and they'll help build the temple of God. Okay. Solomon. That's the self-identity you must have to control the spirits. How do you and I become a Solomon? And I give what I call Solomon's 7 secrets. The individual is a fundamental unit of consciousness. We are each one of us our own self-contained King Solomon. We are suns, not planets, atoms, not molecules, kings and queens, not subjects. The fundamental unit of society is not the family, not the community, not the nation, not the church, but you and me. And we must totally embrace that fact that we are the center of the cosmos. Otherwise, we're not magicians, and we have nowhere to stand to perform our work. 2, you got to accept the fact that humans are inherently good. While it's true that humans are capable of harboring the most monstrous thoughts, and our fellows continue to plague the world with bloody orgies of pain, death, and genocide, it's not helpful. It is not healthful. Indeed, it is not logical for us to focus on these manifestations of evil and assume they represent our true nature. One of Solomon's secrets is, you are a holy woman. You are a holy man. Deep down inside, each of you is a saint, a Mahatma. If you can't wake up to the fact that you are fundamentally good, then you deserve to remain asleep dreaming the nightmare that you are evil. If somewhere in the depths of your soul you think you might be less than that, you're unworthy, or you're guilty, or you're flawed, or undeserving of the mastership of your own life and universe, you're not yet a Solomon. And you're not functioning as a Solomon. And all those taunting doubts and insecurities and fears are the voices of the demons you must conquer. Okay, I go on to other secrets, but I've taken us too far already today. But the 7th Solomon's secret is, as we are raised, as we awaken, so must we raise. What do you think you're going to do? Get a demon from hell to help you out of some kind of terrible jam, then abandon the little devil after it helps you? No, and don't even lose track of their sigil, okay? It's a responsibility, like having a supernatural pet. Don't abuse your pets. Think again. As you move toward enlightenment, you must take your friends and loyal employees with you. So exactly who are these potential loyal employees? They're a hierarchy of 72 blind forces of creation. They do all the heavy lifting in the universe. They help create, sustain, and help destroy everything. And because you and I are the perfect reflection of the consciousness of creation, the goetic spirits are a hierarchy of 72 conscious units that are alive inside us and discharging their energy right now in our psyches. The ones we already have under control are busily working for us, and we don't even notice them. If we don't have them under control, they're currently working against us and are making our life a living hell. But let's not get superstitious. These blind forces are aspects and functions of consciousness. You can call them anything you want: gods, angels, fallen or otherwise, devils, efreets, jinn, familiars, demons, titans, orcs, little buddies, beasties, boogeymen. But with all due respects, and don't be offended, if you truly believe with your rational mind that the goetic spirits are objective, ghost-like beings living in some DoubleTree hell hotel, if you actually believe they have a separate existence independent from your own consciousness. Now, I will say that there's lots of stuff that at one level, when we identify with one level of our consciousness, there's a ton of shit that's separate from that. Okay. But our real identity consciousness is universal. And there is no outside of that. So here's the point that people that think that I'm thinking it's all psychological. Well, at the psychological level, it is. But on the true level, the transcendent level, there is no outside for there to be an outside of. Okay. Then I'm sorry to say I believe you're currently too superstitious and psychologically immature to safely and effectively master this kind of magic. It will not be good for your mental health. So please grow up. A naive and superstitious magician is already a slave to the demons. Does this mean I'm saying that demons aren't real? Oh, no, they're real, all right, and they're powerful. They're dangerous and they're destructive. But so are stars, galaxies, and heavy machinery. Wisely directed demons are the heavy machinery of our lives. We cannot live without them. They're part of us. And we are part of everything. And everything is an aspect of consciousness. If that's a fact too abstract for most of us to wrap our meat brains around, well, so down through the centuries, wise magicians of every clime and culture have developed the dramatic psychodramas of magic rituals to provide us with techniques to get our hands on these powers. Where do goetic demons come from? Hell. And hell is much closer than you might think. Okay, that's a little review of the subject of Solomonic magic in preparation to get me all warmed up for tonight's Monday night magic class. Until tomorrow, probably from one or more parking lots in Sacramento and Parking Lot Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow. Continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.